How's the question?
Do you have something more to say on the number 8D on what you said?
8D.
Would you consider a gift of $100,000?
Oh yes, yes. These meetings with.
Thoughts you have on what
Yes,
you asked?
yes, I do. Well, more on what to ask.
Yes. More thoughts on what to ask.
Okay.
How to frame.
No, I don't think I have more thoughts on what to ask. I mean, you want to say very clearly, you know, after a long time where you got to know them, when it's appropriate time. It's like getting married. You say, you know, like asking from someone to marry you. So you wait. You don't do it in the first date. You wait, and then you say to them, "Would you consider it?" No, I don't think I have much more to say on the specific, but I do have more to say on the whole. The meeting could be 2 hours. I mean, often my meetings with donors are 2 or 3 hours over a long dinner and so on. So, and then you're talking about all kinds of things. You know, is that what you're asking?
May I?
Yes, Nick. Very quickly, we're out of time.
I think he's offering his template.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
You're cultivating a relationship. You're planning on making an ask. It's a lunch. Do you give them a sense in advance, or do you just like spring it on them, like date number 6? Boom, I'm gonna go for it.
No, it's much more of an organic process than that. It is really you're building a relationship, and so it's you can never say in meeting 6 I'm going to do something. You know.
No, but I mean, you're planning on it. You think it's great, but you're like a proposal.
Yeah.
Should I give them a hint that I'm going to be asking at this date, or
they're going to know. I mean, they are wealthy. They know that you know. So it's a dance, and so you don't need to lay any hints. You know, you don't need to do anything. No, the secret is to be just completely straightforward. I mean, talk to them as you would to your teenager or something. I mean, no, you want to be no pretense of any kind. You just want to be absolutely. You want to brim with integrity and just be absolutely who you are. And so you don't need to think about anything like that. You don't even think of it. You don't even think about it. You just behave completely naturally. Everything out of you comes from your heart. Everything out of it just comes directly from your heart. There's no planning. There's no manipulation. You're just who you are. You want to be completely genuine, authentic, and true to yourself. And then nothing else matters. You don't have to worry about anything. You don't have to remember any rules. Okay, you also had a question. Yeah, very quickly.
I have people that I've known for a long time and haven't seen for a while, and I know they're wealthy, and I could just say, could we have lunch?
Yeah, good.
My brother has a diner.
Yeah.
Would you meet me at my brother's diner for lunch? And just sit down and talk to them for a while.
Wonderful.
And just catch up on things
Yeah.
and say, by the way, would you contribute $50,000 to my project?
Yeah, well, you want to be too sudden. You know, you want to spend. You need to spend some time telling them about the project.
Oh, well, that's what well, I was going to do that first.
Okay. But no, you're exactly right. This is exactly the initiative today. But you want to constantly take initiative with donors. What I do with my donors is every day I'm calling my donors. I'm inviting them to lunch. I'm sending them emails. I'm sending them a speech I've just given. I'm constantly finding ways to touch them. Constantly finding ways to touch them, so that when I do make an ask, they're very familiar with everything I'm doing. Also, it's a great thing. Donors love it when people who want money come to them without asking for money. So you want to have lots of meetings where you're not asking for money. You're simply talking about projects and the project, how exciting it is, So, one thing I do, for example, is after I've received a gift from a donor, I will call them 2 weeks later and ask for another meeting, just to talk, not to ask anything, just to talk. Very, very important. You don't be one of those donors, one of those people who just is only when the only time they see the donor is to ask for money. No, don't forget it. Everything is about relationships.
Well, you want to keep them up to date on what you're doing.
Well, you need to do that as well, but you also don't want to look as though all you care about is for them is money, because it isn't. You care about the friendship, you know.
Would you start off by saying, "I'm not asking for money today. Let's go to lunch"? I mean, how do they know when you're going to ask for money? When you're going to go to lunch?
You just again, the important thing is genuineness here. You want to be completely genuine. You would never say that to a friend, would you?
Well, yeah.
So no, I mean, I think the thing is, you just take. I'd like to take you out for lunch, and you just go carry on like you're with a friend. You know, you don't have to say. David, have a seat. We're on the first page. Okay, so the mistake I made, when you talk about a subject like ocean acidification or ocean noise or anything like this, you want to talk about why you're doing it. You know, what is the what is the real result? You want to talk about solution, not just what you're doing, but why you're doing it. What's going to come out of it at the end? So you know, so when if you talk about, you know, if you talk about loss of habitats in the sea in some way for animals, you don't know why that's important. You don't want to stop there. Okay, so it must derive the expected result, and so write in that blank results, and the next blank is benefits. This is 1D, results and benefits. Let's blank, write that in, okay? Okay, so, and look at 1E. It must describe the impact of a project in human terms. We often forget this as environmentalists, conservationists. We often forget this. You want to describe the impact of your project in human terms. How will your project make a difference? Okay. So you want to just don't talk about your project. Talk about why it's important in a fundamental level. Okay. And look at 1F. Above all, the case for your project must solve that blank, and 1F is problem. Write that in. Write in the word problem. Above all, the case for your project must solve a problem, change lives, and transform society. That's what donors are typically after. They want to see a transformation in society. So that's what you want to talk about in your project. Not just talk about the project, the basics of the project, but talk about what it really means for people in the long term. Okay, now look at number 2, identifying prospects. Okay, I'm going to skim through some of these, but you want to be alert at all times. Look at 2A, be alert at all times. Constantly seek out wealthy individuals and people who are the gatekeepers of wealth. Wherever I go, whether I'm set up at a cocktail party, sitting in a plane next to something, I'm constantly looking out for wealthy people. And you need to do the same. You need to constantly be alert to resources, to potential resources. So whenever you're talking to people, think about that, okay? It's like being a comedian. Everything you think about is seen through a comic lens. Same with fundraisers. When you raise money, everything you want to do is seen through that prism of needing to raise resources. So don't let it be just a 9-to-5 job. You want to be constantly on alert, okay? On Saturday morning, Sunday morning, when you go to the synagogue, be alert to it, okay? I don't know when Jews go to the synagogue, so. Okay, Saturday, thank you. Okay, so now look at 2B. Ask your existing donors to introduce you to their wealthy friends. Now this is very important. One of the best ways to find donors is through your existing donors, okay? Now let's suppose Dirk, sitting right here, is one of my wealthy donors. Dirk, you have been, look at me, you have been a wonderful supporter of my work, and I appreciate that so much. You know, I was wondering if you would consider having a small dinner party with a couple of your friends, and so I could have a chance to talk to them about some of these issues that you and I talked about in relation to this conservation project we're working on. Is that something you'd consider? Okay, so I'm just role-playing that, but get the idea. You want to look at your existing donors and ask them, or even if they're not quite donors, but they're supporters in some way, ask them to help you identify donors. This is very important. You want to increase the number of donors you have access to. I have about 100 donors. Over 30 years, I've accumulated them. And so you want to do this. You want to constantly look out and bring in donors into your area of thing. Okay, so look at 2C. Be on the lookout for potential donors you might meet at any time. Turn the page. Okay, now number 3. Don't start by selling that set. Look at the top of page 3. I misspoke. Top of page 2. Okay, top of page 2, item number 3. Okay, don't start by selling. Look at 3A. Start by. Now write this word in, listening. Write it in that blank. Start by listening, and the second blank is understanding. Start by listening and understanding. One night, about a year ago or so, I had a donor call me at about 10 o'clock one night. I was working in my study, and the phone went. I picked it up, and this was a donor, someone who's given me, he's a wonderful friend and given me a lot of money over the years. She was so upset. So upset. That day, the head of a big green, I'm not going to mention names, the head of a big green organization, happens to be a friend of mine, had come to see her to make a pitch for money. He had come into the house about 7 o'clock. They were going to have dinner. She had her 2 children who were dressed up and ready to greet them, and she was looking forward to an opportunity where her kids could have an opportunity to talk with this person and meet this distinguished environmentalist. This guy made a big mistake. He came in and he barely stopped talking. He went on about what great work they're doing, how exciting they're doing this, they're doing that, they got this initiative and that initiative. And she had hardly get a word in edgeways. Her children didn't say a word, and she was just so upset. And she said to me on the phone, she said to me, you know, Chris, I am never going to fund these people again. She was so upset. This guy had no idea what a mistake he'd made. He had no idea. You know, you want to listen to people. I often say to people, you want to listen the gift. Don't talk the gift. Listen the gift. You want to listen to people. You are talking to people who have aspirations and feelings and ambitions of their own. They're not just people with a bloody dollar sign on their forehead. Okay, so you don't want to treat them like crap. You want to treat them like real people, like you treat them like your best friends. Treat them with respect. That's what they deserve. Okay, so 3A, start by listening and understanding, okay? Don't, look at C, 3C, don't talk to be understood. Rather listen to understand. Thanks to Stephen Covey for that. Okay, and look at 3F, don't make an ask. Like the ask that you practiced before Daniel came in late. Don't make an ask until you have built up. That blank is trust. Okay, absolutely foundational. Don't make an ask until you have built up trust. I will often go for maybe 3 or 4 years nurturing, cultivating a donor before I ask for any money from them. It's a game of patience. Okay?
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So, I've been told that you want to create a vision that you talk about with the donor.
Right. Shared vision, right.
And so that might start or precipitate a discussion, and then you're listening for a way that they could fit into that vision.
You're listening for their goals, their mission, their aspirations, what they want to achieve. So you can then see how your project might fit in.
Or it may not. I mean,
No, it may not.
It may just.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I went to a donor the other day who's been very generous to me in the past, and he told me bluntly that he's changed his focus to cancer research. So that was basically the end of the conversation. Oh, people change. No problem. No problem. That's why you want a lot of donors. That's why you want to go into a lot of people, because you can't rely on just 1 or 2, because you don't know what's going to happen to them and what their habit's going to be. Yeah, very good. Yes?
I don't have 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
I'm working on a very limited time.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Well, you can still nurture wealthy donors, but you want to focus on foundations, because I mean, so you know, it depends. If you, I said 3 or 4 years, but that may in a way could have misled you, because sometimes you form a rapport with a donor, and it can move much more quickly. What I love about raising money from wealthy donors is they can get a check and write you a check right away without any fuss. By the way, a lot of what I'm saying here applies not just to wealthy donors, but to foundations and to corporations, because we all forget corporations and foundations are run by people. They're run by people like you and me. They've got feelings and aspirations themselves. So you want to treat them in the same way you treat an individual donor. Okay, so I would focus. You know, you just want to intensify your efforts and hustle and see more people. Okay, very good. Now go down, please, to number 4, building rapport. Okay, look at 4A. Now this is counterintuitive. I wrote here. Look at 4A. This is page 2. You are not selling a project. Okay, you're not selling a project. That sounds crazy, I know, but what I meant here, you're not selling a project, you are selling, that blank, write it in, is a relationship. You are selling a relationship, okay? Donors give to people they trust and respect, okay? Look at 4B, be there. Those blanks, write them in, are best friend. Be their best friend. Donors give to people they love, okay? In fact, you know, I got an email last year from one of my donors. She said to me, she said, this is a person who has given me a lot of money. She said, I've been making charitable contributions for many years. This is from a wealthy donor, and some rather sizable ones during the 10 years or so. But I can count on the fingers of one hand the organizations who have done anything more than send a form letter followed by multiple requests for even more money. How sick is that? I mean, that is just so ignorant. To treat them like shit. I mean, how can we do that to these people? I mean, it's just unforgivable, you know? You wouldn't do that to anybody you love. Okay, so look at 4C. Asking for a gift for your project is not about raising money, it's about nurturing and helping people. This is so important. Find meaning and purpose. This is what the most successful fundraisers do. They help donors find meaning and purpose in their lives. This is what it's all about. This is where you really start raising big money, when you tap into that foundational desire for meaning and purpose. Okay, and that's why listening is so important. So you get so you can listen to what their lives are really about. Okay, look at 4D. Focus on human values, dreams, and aspirations. Talk about their concerns. Now look at 4E, what you say and what you do. And I could do a whole 2-hour workshop just on this, because it is so important. You want to look at people when you talk to them. You want to look at them in the eye. You know, this reminds me, I don't know, 5 years ago, I forget when it was. But anyway, someone in development, and this is when I worked at the National Wildlife Federation, someone in development called me and said, Chris, I know you love raising money. Would you come and help me raise money from this woman in Minnesota? I said, I'd be delighted to. I was delighted to help a colleague. We flew out. We had dinner. It's a lovely woman. She's maybe in her 70s. And she sat here. My friend sat here, but the development officer, and I sat here. We had a lovely conversation. Before this dinner started, she said, I'll use his name, first name, because you won't know. Dana said to me, would you mind if I made the ask? I said, not at all. Absolutely. Absolutely, Dana. Go right ahead. Not a problem. We had a lovely dinner. She's a fascinating woman. And about as we started dessert, I could tell he was getting geared up. This is great. I could tell he was getting geared up to make the ask. This is great. And I heard him, and he said, would you please consider a gift of $200,000 to support our education program? Wonderful. But yeah, I couldn't believe it. He was looking at me. he was so apprehensive. He was so nervous, you know, and he was so looking, I suppose, for approval from me or something. He was looking at me. I remember looking at him. I couldn't believe it. And she, the donor, was looking at him and saying, what the hell's going on here? Is he asking Chris for money? So this is important about 4E, okay? Look at 4E. So, you know, those verbal and non-verbal skills are very important. Look at people in the eyes. Okay, okay. Now look at 4F. Learn about their deepest longings, what they really want, and what is most important to them. Okay. Now let's look at 4. Let's jump down to 4I. Be ultra responsive. You know, this is a way of showing respect to people. Okay. You want to be ultra responsive, uber responsive. Okay. So when a donor writes to you, okay, don't reply in 2 weeks. Don't reply in 1 week. Don't reply in 2 days. Reply right away. This is so important. You know, last year, I was working my study late at night. A phone went about. I picked up a message from the office, and it was one of my donors, a very generous donor, and she had caught her finger. And they'd got 4 stitches in her finger on the hospital. She caught in the window, you know, you cut in that sharp window. She had it, and she called me up and said, oh, I just wanted to let you know I had this miserable experience. I go to hospital. Yeah. So this was quite late at night. She has 4 different homes. And what I did was I called I reached her that night. You want to be ultra responsive to people, okay? Okay, very good. So, okay, now turn the page to move on fast. Look at 3. Look at page 3, and look at L. Be loyal to those. That blank is absent. Okay, because when you go to fundraisers, when you go to when you talk to funders, they will often say to you, or sometimes they'll say to you, oh, well, you know, so is your Oceana, and you're talking to a donor, and the donor might say to you, oh, I recently had a proposal from the Sierra Club, you know, on the same general area. They might, you know. Well, this is what the relevance of this. You want to be, they're not in the room, right? Is Sierra Club in the room? No. Therefore, be loyal to them. Don't ever say anything negative about somebody who's not in the room, okay? So if you're Oceana and your donors about Sierra Club and Sierra Club is a competitor for these donors, what you say is you just be completely honest. You say that's a great organization. If you fund them, that would be wonderful. I mean, you want to be very, very, very important not to be negative about somebody who's not in the room in any way. Okay, let's jump down here. Look at 5. The moves management. We'll skip over that for the minute. Look at number 6. Look at number 6 on page 3. Donors don't give to needs. Don't be a needy person. No donor wants to give to a needy person, okay? They want to give to people who are passionate, who run things well, who are efficient and professional and are totally devoted, dedicated to their subject, to their topic, to solving problems, to transforming society in good ways, okay? So don't be a needy person. You know all this, because if you're looking, any of you are looking for a pay raise from your boss, you don't go to your boss and say, oh, you know, I've got to send my kids to school next year and I need extra. No, that's not going to work, you know, is it? No, of course it's not. You say to them, I need a pay raise because I've been doing a superb job and brought in these results, and therefore I deserve a better, more compensation. That's how, so this is the same with fundraising. You want to, when you make a request, you want to base it on your performance, on your abilities, your capabilities, your professionalism, your dedication to the mission, the fact that you're a well-run with an organization with great integrity and openness and honesty. Okay, all right. So don't be and don't sell that blank is needs. So I didn't say that. I'm sorry. On number 6A, don't sell that blank is needs. Don't sell needs. Okay. Okay. Instead, look at 6B. Instead, sell solutions, competence, and the vital importance of your project, okay? Look at 6C, sell changing lives and change society, make the world a better, more humane place. Look at 6D, your job is to empower the donor to do great things for a noble cause, okay? Okay, and look at 6E, you're helping the donor find and rise to the joy of making a gift that will leave a legacy for future generations. Turn the page to page 4, look at number 7. Look at number 7. You want to learn, okay, preparing for a cultivation visit with a donor. Okay, so page 4 now, page 4, section 7. Okay, so learn all you can about the donor. That's on stump 8. And look at 7C. Slick selling techniques don't work and always backfire. Don't do anything slick or slimy. I mean, you just want to be absolutely genuine and authentic and straightforward. Just totally be yourself. Okay, that's the way to raise money. Don't read books on how to sell. Don't read those stupid books. None of that works. You just want to be yourself and be totally straightforward, and totally honest, and just be totally yourself. This is what's going to help you raise money. Okay, and look at 7D. The only successful way to raise money is to build a relationship with a prospect based on integrity, sincerity, high standards, entrepreneurial zeal, unflagging, and that blank is enthusiasm. Write it in. Enthusiasm, unflagging enthusiasm, and a passionate commitment to your project. Okay, that's the way to raise money, and that's true whether you're talking about a wealthy donor, a foundation, or a corporate executive. Okay.
Going back to A, though, do you subscribe to any of these databases that
No.
give you information on people?
No.
So you do it by finding people they know and talking to them?
Yes, and over time I've just met a lot of people, and I get you know, a lot of people introduce me to other people, but I'm sure those databases are good. I'm sure it's helpful. I'm sure development offices use them. So I don't want to poo-poo them. I think it's fine. I personally I don't use them. I focus on what I've written down here. This workshop I'm giving you has come out because I developed it because I'm very successful in raising a ton of money, and so people said to me, "How do you do this? What do you do?" And so I started observing what I did, and this is everything in here is just what I do as a fundraiser. So
You raise money that you produce.
yes, well, films and related things, a lot of educational projects. Yeah, I raised money for IMAX films, for documentary films. I raised money for the Center for Environmental Filmmaking. I raised money for another company I run called Videotapes. I raised money for McGillivray Freeman, One World, One Ocean. I raised money for a lot of different things.
Are those all nonprofits?
Yes, all nonprofits.
So that we have to do first.
Yes, you want to be a nonprofit, especially in a foundation, because typically donors prefer to give nonprofit. They can give to for-profits,
So
but
we have to establish that first.
yes, you want to join with a nonprofit, or you want to find a fiscal sponsor of some kind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Keep asking questions. Interrupt as much as you want. Answer your question.
One other question. though.
Sure.
So I know you're saying do yourself, and then you're saying you have a lot of enthusiasm. So I'm not sure other people could match that. So it's sort of like enthusiasm. Those are great things, but what if the person isn't wired that way?
Right. The thing.
Yeah.
Very good question. I think you do the best you can, but you be yourself. It's very important to be completely yourself. And so you don't want to act or anything like that.
Right.
So when you're mainly listening, don't forget. So mainly listening, learning all you can. You're in a dance. You're in a dance with this person, and they're learning about you. You're learning about them.
You're right. Enthusiasm about your project too is really key right there, not just general.
Yeah. Very, very good. Okay. By the way, let's talk for just a second about subordination. When you go to a donor, don't feel subordinate. You're bringing them something of great value. And so you should feel absolutely equal. I don't like it when people say to me, "Oh, well, I don't like begging for money." You shouldn't feel that way. When I go to a donor, I feel like absolute on a peer level with them. I feel like I'm bringing them something, a great opportunity. And they're very appreciative of that. And I'm grateful to them for having the potential resources to fund that opportunity. So you don't never feel inferior or subordinate or some way in subjugation to the donor. Never feel that way. It's absolutely inappropriate. You should feel an absolute on an equal level that you are bringing them an amazing opportunity to do something that's going to change the world. Okay, turn please to number 8. Look on page 4. Look at number 8, making an ask. Okay, let's jump down here to number 8B. Don't send now. If you're working with a wealthy donor, I recommend not sending a proposal ahead of time because the foundation is different, corporation is different. But for a wealthy donor, I usually have a proposal in my back pocket, and if it's appropriate and if it works well, then I might give it to them. But I wait till I get to know them well, see what they're after, see what they're looking for. Okay. Look, jump down to 8. Look at 8G. You are in a dance, I just said this, you're in a dance, a coordinated set of actions between you and the prospect is a joint process of discovery, okay? And look at 8H, I put this in italics because it's so important. Have the courage to make an ask. It takes courage. It takes courage. It'll take you way out of your comfort zone. It takes courage for you to look at a donor and say, would you consider a gift of $500,000 to support this project? It takes courage, and it's very easy to not do it, to think you've done it, to kid yourself, And I've often been in meetings with people who think they've made an ask. They'll say things like, "Oh, we'd love you to support us." That is not an ask. That is not an ask. "Oh, we'd be so grateful for your support." No, that is not an ask. An ask is, would you consider a gift of $100,000 to support our project? You want to get something very specific, okay? So have the courage to make an ask. Look at 8I. Always ask. That blank is specific. Always ask for a specific amount for a specific project, okay? Don't use a range. Don't say, "Oh, I'd love you to support between 50 and 100,000," because immediately the thought's going to the ceiling, okay? So, okay, now turn the page. We're going to finish it. Yes. Has a question?
Do you have something more to say on the number 8D on the website?
8D.
Would you consider a gift of $100,000?
Oh yes, these meetings with.
Thoughts you have on what
Yes,
to ask?
yes I do. More on what to ask.
Yes. One thoughts on what to ask.
Okay.
How to frame.
No, I don't think I have more thoughts on what to ask. I mean, you want to say very clearly, after a long time where you got to know them, when it's the appropriate time. It's like getting married. You say, like asking someone to marry you. So you wait. You don't do it in the first date. You wait, and then you say to them, "Would you consider it?" No, I don't think I have much more to say on the specific, but I do have more to say on the whole. The meeting could be 2 hours. I mean, often my meetings with donors are 2 or 3 hours over a long dinner and so on. So, and then you're talking about all kinds of things. Is that what you're asking?
May I?
Yes, Nick. Very quickly, we're running out of time.
Certainly. I think he's offering a template.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
You're cultivating a relationship, you're planning on making an ask. It's a lunch. Do you give them a sense in advance, or do you just spring it on them, like date number 6? Boom, I'm gonna go for it.
No, it's much more of an organic process than that. It's really, you're building a relationship, and so you could never say in meeting 6 I'm going to do something.
No, but I mean, you're planning on it, you think it's right, but you're like a proposal.
Yeah.
Should I give them a hint that I'm going to be asking at this They or
They're going to know. I mean, they are wealthy. They know that you know. So it's a dance, so you don't need to lay any hints. You don't need to do anything else. No, the secret is to be just completely straightforward. I mean, talk to them as you would to your teenager or something. No, you want to be no pretense of any kind. You just want to be absolutely. You want to brim with integrity and just be absolutely who you are. And so you don't need to think about anything like that. You don't even think about it. You just behave completely naturally. Everything out of you comes from your heart. Everything out of it just comes directly from your heart. There's no planning, there's no manipulation. You're just who you are. You want to be completely genuine, authentic, and true to yourself. And then nothing else matters. You don't have to worry about anything. You don't have to remember any rules. Okay, who else had a question? Yeah, very quickly.
I have people that I've known for a long time and haven't seen for a while, and I know they're wealthy, and I could just say, could we have lunch?
Yeah, good.
My brother has dying.
Yeah.
Would you meet me at my brother's
Yeah.
dying for lunch? And just sit down and talk
Yeah.
to them for a while.
Wonderful.
And just catch up on things
Yeah.
and say, by the way,
Yeah.
would you contribute $50,000 to my project?
Yeah, well, you want to be too sudden, you know. You want to spend. You need to spend some time telling them about the project.
Oh, well, that's
Yeah.
what I was Well, I was going to do that first.
Okay. But no, you're exactly right. This is exactly the initiative today. But you want to constantly take initiative with donors. What I do with my donors is every day I'm calling my donors. I'm inviting them to lunch. I'm sending them emails. I'm sending them a speech I've just given. I'm constantly finding ways to touch them. Constantly finding ways to touch them, so that when I do make an ask, they're very familiar with everything I'm doing. Also, it's a great thing. Donors love it when people who want money come to them without asking for money. So you want to have lots of meetings where you're not asking for money. You're simply talking about projects and the project, how exciting it is, one thing I do, for example, is after I've received a gift from a donor, I will call them 2 weeks later and ask for another meeting, just to talk, not to ask anything, just to talk. Very, very important. You don't be one of those donors, one of those people who just is only when the only time they see the donor is to ask for money. No, you're developing. Everything is about relationships.
Well, you want to keep them up to date on what you're doing.
Well, you need to do that as well, but you also don't want to look as though all you care about is for them is money, because it isn't. You care about the friendship, you know.
Would you start off by saying, I'm not asking for money today, let's go to lunch? I mean, how do they know when you're going to ask for money when you're just going to go to lunch?
No, again, the important thing is genuineness here. You want to be completely genuine. You would never say that to a friend, would you?
Well, yeah.
So, no, I mean, I think the thing is I'd like to take you out for lunch, and you just go carry on like you would with a friend, you know. You don't have to say, I'm not asking you for money today, because they'll know by the end that you haven't asked them for money, which is all you need to do. Okay.
So all this is well and good when you have a donor base already and
Yes.
you're taking them out to lunch.
Yes.
But what about those people, like in this list that I wrote down,
Right.
people I haven't met yet, but I could link to them through somebody?
Yes.
How do I start that?
Well, you start by linking
Hi,
to-
I'd like to have
you
you for
drop it-
lunch. You don't know me.
Well, no, you drop them an email. If you have the email address, and you say, I read about you here, I heard about you, or my friend told me about you. I'd love to have a chance to talk to you about my project. It's to do with blah, 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 and I think it would be great of interest to you. Would you mind if I drop by to see you? You know, try not to impose on them, so don't ask for a lunch right away. What I often say is, I'd love to drop by for a courtesy call for 5 minutes.
For what?
5 minutes.
Courtesy call.
A courtesy call.
Courtesy call. In other words, you don't want to impose. See, it's easier for someone to say yes to that. A lunch is harder. Who has time for lunch?
Yeah.
You see? So simply say, what I often say to people is, could I just drop by to see you for 3 minutes?
Okay.
And it's very hard to resist that. And then when you get them, when you talk to them, then you can go from there, you know. So what I mean,
If they're interested, then
yes.
you can, okay.
And if they like you, you like them.
Okay.
I mean, often you have donors you don't always like. Gosh, I had one donor who called me up. He was anxious to give me money. And I flew to London to see him. I didn't know him. I flew to London to see him. We had this lunch. But he started smoking in the meal, you know, which I find repugnant. And then he started telling me a dirty joke. I mean, I just got out of there as soon as I could. I had no interest in what, I don't care if he gave me $2 million. I had no interest in this person. That was the end of that. So you want to, yeah.
With conservation projects, do you take donors out to the field to see
Yes,
scientists?
as much as possible. Absolutely, it's a wonderful thing to do. It's a thing you could do, Michael. Thing you could do. Take them out. take them out, come out with me. So take them out with you. I often take them on shoots on location. Yeah, absolutely. Everything you can, you want to, and take their children out and help their children get into university. I mean, in other words, help them, as you would with a friend. Don't just focus only on the money side of the thing, okay? Well,
how do you avoid that in trying to sort of wait and build a relationship? A lot of these people have very tight schedules, so how do you avoid the problem of them going, you never asked me for anything, you just wasted my afternoon and I'm not going to meet with you again?
Well, the meeting is not wasted because they've had a good time. They have learned about your project, you've been discussing, you've had good fun, you've had a lot of interest. You know what I mean? It's not wasted. I mean, if it's wasted, that's a problem. You're not going to get money if they have that assessment of the meeting. No, you're getting to know them, no, I think it's fine. I had a donor up in New York City. I went to see him and got to know his family, his wife, his children, and so on. He's a delightful guy, very, very wealthy. I asked him, and we had lots of meetings. Every time I go to New York, we'd go for lunch together. And we had great fun. He was a wonderful guy. And I asked him for $25,000. He said no. So I kept on meeting with him. And then I asked him for $50,000, and he said no. But we liked each other, and and then I asked him for $100,000, and he said no. And then I went on meeting with him. We had lots of interactions with lots of stuff, thing. And then I asked him for $500,000 for a project, and he said no. This is now about 3 or 4 years into our relationship. And then we were talking one day, and he told me he loved tigers. And we were making a film about tigers. I asked him for $1 million for the help me with this film on tigers, and he said yes. So you just want to keep going. You never want to give up. You never take a no as a no. Okay, let's go. Anybody else have questions?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I struggle with how much to ask for.
Okay. Well, sometimes you get a help. If you're with a company, a big organization, they'll have a development office who might give you advice. But this is very difficult because when you look, one way to judge how much to ask for is see what they've given before. But if you look in the annual reports to see what they've given, it'll often say 25 to 50. You don't know where in that range it is, and it's very misleading. I had one donor down in Kentucky. Some of you may know Sally Brown. She just died. She's over 100. She's died last week. She's a wonderful person, used to give me tons of money. But you look at her gift giving, it's always 25 or 30, in that range, 50, but she could have written a check for $5 million if she wanted to. She was just used to philanthropists have patterns. Philanthropists they get into habits of things, So what I'm saying is hard to know what to ask for. So always aim higher than you might think, because you want to flatter the person. It's flattering to be asked for $1 million if you really can't afford it. But you think you think they could afford it. But also you don't want to aim too low, because that's insulting. And don't want to wait. Ted Turner gives me a lot of money, and he doesn't want to deal with small things. So I never ask Ted for anything less than a few $1 million, because when he gives money, he wants it to change the world. He wants to shake the dust of the world up. So a lot of things go into this thing about how much to ask for. But if you're not sure, just aim a little high, and they will say to you, "Gosh, that's way out of my range, Chris. I'm so sorry. I can't do that." That's fine. No problem. I mean, just carry on from there. Yeah. Okay. Who else had a question? Yes.
So you can actually, I was just going to focus on people who knew my area and what I was going to do, but I really don't need to. I can ask people from other areas and just explain what I'm doing in a specific
Well, you want to have a shared value system. So if you're asking about overfishing and they're interested in cancer research, it's not going to work.
No, but I mean, I'm talking about turtles on a specific island, but I'm living in Pennsylvania, so I could actually hit donors in Pennsylvania.
Sure.
Because they should have an interest also.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, and I've just closed my donor base.
Very good, very good, very good, very good, very good. Anybody else need a question? Yes.
Yeah.
Me?
Yes, you and then
Yes, Chris. You practice what you preach, because I sent Chris an email one night at 7:30, and by 7:45 he called me at my house.
Well, I apologize for being 50 minutes late.
Well, maybe I did it at 7:35. But anyway, when can we bring? I'm in a media thing, media about whales. When can you spring that on? Do you bring that at the initial meeting?
You want to bring it right
Later
away.
on, I want to show them what I'm doing, yes.
Yeah, tell them right away. Oh, because they want to know who you are. So tell them right away.
Actually show them video. Bring it and show them.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't. You're in a dance. You play it by ear. It's not like you have not like you have a what's the word? Like a screenplay. I'm going to say this now. No, you just let it flow as it flows, and you might start talking about English cricket if they're from England or something. You know what I mean? You just but yeah, you want to quickly say why you're there because that'll interest them. I mean, that's why you've got to see them. That you do media in Wales, and so you want to bring that up soon, because you'll get into a fascinating conversation about Wales and what they've been, where they've been, where they've seen them, where you've seen them, exchanging stories. Wonderful. That's what you want to do. You want to build that rapport. Yeah.
Chris, I found that when you ask somebody something, sometimes they will say, "Well, let me think about it." But I found it's counterproductive to send them an avalanche of information. They just want a one-pager that has everything on it.
Yeah.
What would be your response to that?
Oh, I agree with that, but you want to ask them, really, what would be most helpful to you? Do you want a detailed proposal? You can ask them even, a short thing, because often they will want a short thing. A lot of these donors don't have time to read something long. So I always go shorter, I think, if you don't know. But you could always ask them, would about a 3-page proposal be what you'd like? They often have a sense of what they want. Yeah. I had a question.
We have to start in 5 minutes.
Pardon?
We have to start
Yes.
in 5 minutes.
Okay, we're going to run a little bit late because we started late because of the...
Well, I know you will, but we have to leave.
Oh,
at 4
okay.
o'clock.
Very good. Okay, question here.
Just a quick one, where you've asked for that $1 million and, yeah, I'm so sorry, I can't afford that, or that's, beyond it. What do you do then? Do you say, oh, well, can you afford 25? I mean, do you go into an auction mode,
Yeah, yes, I do. Yeah. No, it's a good question. I think it's best to take a little break at that point, and then go back to them later on. You don't want to say, you don't want to have a contract where you say, well, would 50 do it? What about 45? No, that's not going to work. All right, so I think you can read the rest. I think the rest of this. So the key thing to remember is whether it's corporations or foundations or individuals to focus on building trust and relationships and passion. Those are the key things. Thank you all very much for coming.